In today's video, we're going to be going over 10 unexpected perks of living in Winston-Salem. Let's get into the video. My name is Ramon Lomeli. I'm a local realtor and the team leader of the Smart Move Group brokered by eXp Realty here in Winston-Salem, but we've got connections all over the state. So we're going to be talking about the 10 unexpected perks of living in Winston-Salem. Before we jump into it though, do me a huge favor, hit that like button, leave me a comment, but above all, subscribe. Those kinds of things keep me motivated to keep bumping out these videos for you. I am going to leave some awesome links in the about section of this video, including the free Winston-Salem relocation guide, some awesome links to see homes that are currently for sale in the area, as well as my personal social media handles in case you want to be my friend on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I do post a lot of short form content on those platforms in case you want to check that out. And of course, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to reach out, give me a call, or shoot me a text. The number on the screen is my personal cell phone number. It goes to no one else but me. Number 10 on today's list, Winston-Salem's proximity or location. And there are 3 great perks about the location of Winston-Salem. Number 1 is going to be the proximity to other major cities in the state. Winston-Salem is located in the Piedmont Triad region of the state of North Carolina, which means that we are about an hour and a half away from Charlotte, North Carolina, being the biggest city in North Carolina. We are also about an hour and a half, hour 45 away from Raleigh, North Carolina, which is the capital of the state, another huge city here in North Carolina. Because we are in the Piedmont Triad region, commonly known as a Triad, we are also only about 30-35 minutes away from Greensboro, which is another main city, another major city here in the state. The second location perk about living in Winston-Salem is going to be our proximity to either the mountains or the beach. So if you love to kayak, fish, hike, bird watching, trails, nature, anything to do outdoors, especially like mountain type stuff, you're gonna love it here because not only do we have Pilot Mountain about 30 minutes away from Winston-Salem, about 90 miles away we have the Blue Ridge Mountains, which is a beautiful mountain range in the eastern part of the state. But also if we travel 3.5 to 4 hours to the east of the state, we'll hit the Atlantic Ocean. And that's where you're gonna find over 300 miles of North Carolina coastline. I will say though, North Carolina beaches tend to be a little bit more family friendly, low key, a little bit more private, a little bit more reserved than your, I think what typically people think of is Myrtle Beach about this area, which is technically in South Carolina. It's right on the border, but that's more of your party, your drinking, your bar beach, your, clubs, your go crazy beach. That's going to be Myrtle Beach, but we're more of the reserved family, beautiful landscape. We have some amazing beaches, beautiful beaches. They're just a little bit more reserved in North Carolina. Another perk of our location here is the larger Winston-Salem metro area because we're surrounded by a ton of really fun, cool, little, eclectic small towns that surround the Winston-Salem area. And because of those small towns, we can offer, more rural lifestyles. We also have a lot of towns that have wineries and things to do in them as well. But all of the little towns are usually gonna be a little bit more affordable. They're usually gonna be cheaper taxes as well because they're not in Forsyth County typically, so they're smaller counties. But also another thing that's really awesome is that you're never gonna be too far away from, a big city, which would be Winston-Salem. So you can usually jump on the highway and be back in Winston for many of those small towns in 15-20 minutes. Number 9, we're gonna talk about the traffic or the lack thereof. Last week I was working with a client from New York and they actually told me that when they were driving around the small towns by Winston-Salem, they thought it was the apocalypse or something because there was basically no cars on the road and they had something that coming from New York they've never experienced before. Heavy traffic is uncommon for us here in Winston-Salem unless there's a accident, road construction. On the highways, I was actually just in traffic on my way back to the office to film this video. I never had to slow, I slowed down for sure on the highway because it was like 5:30, but never came to a complete stop. And even when I did hit the brakes, maybe I slowed down to 45, and that's during like the big interchanges like downtown or the mall area. But after that, it was, there's other cars on the road for sure, but it doesn't really ever come to a complete stop unless there's a wreck, construction. There's some bottlenecks that that you do a little loop-de-loop and you get off the highway and you go back onto a surface road. Yeah, there's a stoplight up there, so you're gonna come to a complete stop. But unless you're on the surface roads by the mall or a busy area, you're typically not coming to a complete stop. Another great thing about the Winston-Salem area here is that unlike Charlotte or the Triangle area, we don't have any toll booths here, so you don't really have to worry about that. And we're still in the process of building the Northern Beltway here, which is gonna form essentially a loop around Winston-Salem. And Winston-Salem is gonna be the 7th city in the state to have an outer loop around the city. And if you're not familiar, maybe they don't have these everywhere, but basically what that means is that they're building a highway system around every city here, which would essentially prevent you from having to go through the city, which is usually where all the congestion is, right? So if you need to get over here, you can simply go around instead of going through the city, which is typically going to take a lot longer, which I think it's awesome that we're doing this before we have a traffic problem, because we are growing exponentially. I think it's awesome that we're getting ahead of the problem instead of waiting for traffic to be an issue and then trying to throw tax dollars at it and figure out what we're going to do. Parts of the Beltway are already complete. Other parts are still underway. Some of them are still being funded, but the parts that are already done are already helping tremendously with the traffic. Number 8, healthcare. Residents of Winston-Salem enjoy endless options when it comes to healthcare. This is also a reason why a lot of senior citizens are actually enjoying living here in Winston. Because of this, seniors also see Winston-Salem as the next place for retirement. Now, we have 2 major hospitals in town. The first one being Atrium Health Wake Forest Baptist. That's our city's largest hospital, also our largest employer in the area. They are recognized for their expertise in cancer care, neurology, cardiology, and more. Then you also have Forsyth Hospital, which is part of the Novant healthcare system. They're the second largest hospital in Winston-Salem, and they are actually located not too far from each other, actually, but they're both near downtown. Forsyth Hospital is known to have expertise in various medical specialties, including cardiology, oncology, neurology, and orthopedics. Number 7, let's talk about education. Winston-Salem is home to several universities that not only help our local economy here, they also give local residents opportunities to watch live sports and performances. We've got Wake Forest University, which is a private research university. Wake Forest University School of Medicine is affiliated with the Atrium Wake Forest Baptist Health Hospital to educate and train future healthcare professionals. Then we also have Winston-Salem State University, which is an HBCU founded in 1892. They offer 40 undergraduate programs and 10 graduate programs. Then we have North Carolina School of the Arts, which is really popular. It was founded in 1963 as America's first public arts conservatory. The students here actually helped to contribute to Winston-Salem's thriving art scene. Then of course we got Salem College, which dates back to the 1700s. It's a private women's liberal arts college. Number 6, we're going to talk about housing prices. Inflation and home prices have really taken a toll all across the US, really. Now get this, according to Redfin, the average home price in the United States of America in 2023 was about $412,000. Well, you'll be happy to know that in Winston-Salem, we're still about $100,000 under the national average. For 2023, our average price point was around $320,000 for, the average price here in Winston-Salem. Now, I do like to put a little asterisk by that number because here on the ground, really what was happening was that sellers were not really wanting to sell their homes that they're currently using, and so we were left with basically just new construction homes, which on average are going to be a little bit more expensive than resale, what we call resale homes. So that caused the the averages to kind of jump up artificially. It'll be interesting to see what happens to the average home price in Winston-Salem at the end of 2024, because I'm banking that with lower interest rates, we're going to see more people leaving their homes, and hopefully the average price point will either stay the same or go down a little bit. But also keep in mind that different neighborhoods in Winston-Salem, different areas, different suburbs, they all have different price points. I'm helping people left and right find 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1-car, 2-car garage, newer neighborhood homes in the mid 2s to 3s all day long. Even cheaper if it needs a little work, or if you're outside of city limits, if you're looking down the more rural parts, there's definitely some opportunities to get some good value for the home. Pardon the interruption, we're gonna keep going with this list. I wanted to jump in here real quick and just plug myself again. Hit that like button, leave me a comment, but above all, subscribe. That really helps the channel, helps me stay motivated to keep pumping out these videos for you. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, number on the screen, cell phone number, call me, text me, you know what to do. Don't forget about the awesome links in the About section, free Winston-Salem relocation guide, live list of active homes currently for sale in the area, all my social media handles in case you want to be my friend on TikTok, Instagram, or Facebook. Enough of that, let's get back into it. Number 5, gas prices. North Carolina ranks actually as the 24th cheapest state to buy gas in, and Winston-Salem, at the time of making this video, has its 5th cheapest gas in the entire state. And gas prices obviously keep fluctuating all the time, so that may not be accurate when you're watching this video. But just generally speaking, Winston-Salem gas prices tend to be cheaper than some surrounding counties or other areas of the state. Number 4, family-friendly activities or just things to do in general. Winston-Salem does have a lot to offer, even if we don't realize how spoiled we are with the amount of activities that we have at our disposal. The trick here is everything just happens to be a little bit more further out. So yes, no traffic, which is good, but things are going to be a little bit further out, especially when you're thinking about things to do. Just inside of Winston-Salem, obviously we have Truist Ballpark, which is amazing, small minor league team, White Sox affiliate. Great, a lot of not only the baseball games, but they also have a lot of activities there. You have the brand new Palladium downtown, which is an amazing museum for kids, science, learning, tons of fun. I've done videos about it. I'm not going to go into detail now, but it's amazing. You got Bowman Gray Stadium, which is basically the smaller cars. They're a NASCAR affiliate. They have races all the time in the summertime. It's a lot of fun. You got to go check them out. We have dozens of parks here in Winston-Salem, and there's always some event going on at most parks. Downtown, you're usually going to have a food truck festival. You're going to have a car show. You're going to have some kind of folk festival, some kind of trade show. There's always some event going on when the weather's nice in downtown Winston-Salem. You also have a surprisingly large number of breweries in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And most of those breweries are gonna have trivia nights, they're gonna have their karaoke, they're gonna have some kind of event. Even if they don't have an event, it's cool to just go try a new beer you've never drank before, get some food from the food truck, sit by the bonfire, bring your pets if you have them. It's always a good time. We have wineries all over the place, so you can basically go 5-10 minutes in any direction. You're gonna run into a winery and they all have different flavors. I'm not a huge wine person. My wife knows wine a little bit more than I do, but she loves the local wines here. And you know, even if you're not a big wine drinker, you're gonna be out in a beautiful setting with some amazing people, and you're gonna be having a great time. If you like the bars, we have plenty of bars all over Winston-Salem, not only downtown, but all over the place. We've got your little small town bars, we've got your bigger, fancier, dressier bars downtown and everything in between. So basically almost anything that you can think of to do in your town or your city, we're gonna have it here in Winston-Salem. Number 3, history. In Winston-Salem, we take a lot of pride in our history here. Many of our city's oldest homes and buildings have been beautifully preserved, sometimes renovated, and sometimes they are home to nice restaurants or downtown lofts now, or they've been turned into something more useful. The history of Winston-Salem is basically Moravians and tobacco. There are 3 original Moravian settlements in the Winston-Salem area that are still beautifully preserved, and it's insane that you can still walk by them, walk through them, walk into the old buildings. They're known as a living history museum where you can walk through and learn about how they used to bake apple pies in huge ovens, or how they used to make items at their forge for the blacksmiths, or what their schools looked like, the school for the boys, the school for the girls, what their practices were, how they lived day to day, what they ate. And a lot of times, depending on where you go, a lot of the people that work there actually are wearing the era appropriate clothing that they wore back then, which is pretty amazing to see. It kind of takes you back into the 1700s. Old Salem is probably our most famous Moravian settlement here in Winston-Salem. There's also the R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company. It was founded in 1875, and it became one of the largest, most influential tobacco companies in all of America. A quick side note I want to mention, sometimes people come here and they just think that because we're Winston-Salem, a lot of tobacco history here, they think that everyone smokes. Tobacco use is going down dramatically. It's not like it used to be. People don't just walk up and down and smoke, or smoke indoors, or smoke in their cars. It's really going down quite a bit. You rarely really run into smokers unless you're out late at night behind a bar or next to a bar. You'll see some smokers, and yeah, you'll still run into them every now and then, but it's not, I think people have a bad, like everyone smokes. It's definitely not the case. Also, I think it's funny that there are, we have the cities named Winston-Salem. There's Winston cigarettes and Salem cigarettes, and that's how we got our nickname of Camel City, because of the famous Camel cigarettes brand. Additionally, small nugget, there is a town just northwest of here called Tobaccoville, which is a big tobacco factory, is actually still there. I think it's still operational actually, and it's funny that the whole town is named Tobaccoville. But yeah, the Reynolds family, obviously of tobacco fame, also of tin foil, aluminum foil fame as well. They are also the same family, Reynolds Wrap. They were a dominant force here in the Winston-Salem area. They've shaped a lot of the city's growth, economy. In fact, Winston-Salem for a brief period in the 1900s was the largest city in North Carolina because of the tobacco and textile industries. Textiles kind of brings us to the Hanes family, Hanes brand, shirts, underwear. That's also a big Winston-Salem thing here. Number 2, beer and wine. Winston-Salem is home to a abnormally large amount of breweries, that's my opinion, for the size of the city that offer a variety of craft beers. My favorite thing about the local breweries is the overall vibe and, you know, the atmosphere there. You don't have to get all dressed up. You can just kind of come as you are, as they say in some country songs, and you know, you can feel welcome there. You're not gonna feel out of place. It's very relaxed, very chill, kind of like a smaller bar vibe. It's usually bigger. Those places are usually bigger, and they have all these beers that you've typically never tried. If you have, maybe you have a problem, but yeah, typically you're always trying something new. Usually they're gonna be downtown. Usually they're gonna have like an industrial vibe. A lot of times live music. A lot of times they also host events or game nights or trivia or, you know, all kinds of stuff. Me and my wife recently went on Valentine's Day to a murdery mystery at Joymonger's, which is another brewery in the area. That was a fun date night type thing for Valentine's Day that we did that was held at a brewery. A lot of people don't know this, but North Carolina is actually home to over 180 wineries. The Piedmont Triad region of North Carolina alone is home to 81 of them. We have cideries, meaderies, and your regular grape wineries. I actually had to Google what cideries and meadery, I mean, I figured mead and cider, anyway, but yeah, that's the thing. Because of the North Carolina soil and climate mixture, it makes for a great place to grow grapes. And just like breweries, wineries are also gonna have some kind of event going on. Sometimes it's a sip and paint. This place in Yadkin County does like the yoga with the goat yoga, and you're drinking wine at the same time. Sometimes they have like taco trucks or food trucks of some kind, and you're drinking wine out there. So it's a lot of fun. Wineries can be a lot of fun. If you were looking for something to do outdoors, typically, they do have indoor stuff to do too, but typically you're outdoors, you're sitting outside on a pretty day, sipping some wine, having a conversation on a Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon. It's lovely, lovely thing to do. Number one, community. Community is one thing that you're not gonna have a problem finding in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Whether it's your local neighborhood or maybe a hobby, all different kinds of communities are gonna take you in. Generally speaking, the people here are so nice, friendly, and accepting that you're gonna have no problem belonging to a community. The community really does come together, whether it's to support a struggling local business or raise money for a certain thing. There's a big sense of community here, and you'll see that. There's also a lot of neighborhoods that are like die hard, ride or die for their communities. I know like Ardmore is really like, people that live in Ardmore love it and they defend it and they'll never move out. Same thing with like the West End and Washington Park. Other neighborhoods, people that live in that community, they take care of each other, they love it. And you know, that's another great example of the community here. One thing that I love, my wife not so much, is that neighbors usually socialize quite a bit. You know, if I come home and I see my neighbor outside, I'm gonna go over and say hello, see how the family and the kids are doing. He might throw me a beer, and you know, when I'm grilling in the backyard, he'll, you know, come outside and see what's for dinner. You know, we always joke around. So anyway, that's funny, but that's literally what happens in my neighborhood. But people just, wherever I've lived, people tend to usually be friends with each other, help each other out. I've never owned a truck in my life. The reason I say that is because every now and then when it does snow, which is kind of rare, there's always a neighbor driving around, seeing if anyone needs help, you know, being pulled out of a ditch or something. So that's the kind of thing that you can expect when you move down here to Winston-Salem, North Carolina. We also have a strong community behind the thriving art scene. We have so many festivals going on at all over the Triad, really. Every weekend seems to be a great festival. The Apple Festival, the Wine Festival, the Beer Fest, the Classic Car Fest, the Barbecue Festival. There's always some kind of festival or event going on, which is really cool, and that kind of adds to the community. Winston-Salem also hosts many cultural events: Black Theater Festival, Hispanic Heritage Festival, the Greek Food Festival, and many others. Winston-Salem also has a big Pride community, and we have a big Pride parade every year. That's gonna be it for today's video, guys. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end. I really appreciate it when you guys hit that like button, leave me a comment, but always subscribing really helps a lot. Keeps me motivated, makes me want to make more of these videos for you guys. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, you know what to do. My phone number is on the screen. Call me, text me. I left you some amazing links in the About section. Free Winston-Salem relocation guide. Homes currently available for sale. Links to my social media handles, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, as well as my direct contact information in case you want to reach out to me for anything. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.